and welcome to Every Tiny Victory. My name is Crystal Moreno, and I'm a 40-something-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas. If you're new here and we're meeting for the first time, welcome. I've recently been diagnosed as diabetic, and I'm trying to take control of my health. I decided to start this channel to document what I'm doing to live well and be well, so thanks for joining me today. If you've seen my previous videos, you'll notice that I'm recording in a different location today. Welcome to my home office slash home gym slash craft room slash laundry room slash storage room slash activity room. There's a lot of slashes. Basically, this room serves many functions for my husband and I, so there's a lot going on in here. But it's carpeted, and I wanted to try recording in here to see if it helps cut down on the echo that I experienced in my last two videos. In the meantime, would you let me know if the audio is better here in this room rather than in the kitchen? All right, so now let's get down to brass tacks. It's the end of February and it's time for a habit tracking update. Keep in mind that the overarching focus is to impact my work week Monday through Friday. So I did track the weekends, but I'm really looking to see if I hit those goals during the week. As a reminder, here are my daily, weekly, and monthly goals. All right, so what I've got here is an old notebook. I actually kept this one, repurposed it for my Every Tiny Victory daily habit tracker. So what I'm going to start with is just kind of going through the line of my daily habits that I've been tracking and give you a little bit of explanation of how I did. All right, so first up was my morning routine, and I set the goal of having a 6 a.m. wake up time. A lot of times my going to bedtime is between 2 and 3 in the morning. You see there's more green here than there is other colors, so that's great. I did notice that, you can kind of see this is Friday, and I was a struggle pretty much every Friday of this week. I'm happy with the progress that I made, even though, obviously you can see I didn't wake up every day at 6 o'clock. But again, progress, not perfection. Now, the next one in my morning routine is taking my blood pressure. Now, you can see here, there were quite a few days that I skipped. I just start doing other things, and then before you know it, we're 2-3 hours into the day. And, if I'm already at work, I didn't bring the blood pressure cuff and machine with me. If I'm home, like on the weekends, I'm usually doing something pretty strenuous, like, cleaning or, moving some things around or whatever. So it's not the ideal time to take your blood pressure. That should be done like first thing in the morning before you start doing a bunch of activity. My insurance recommended, and they're the ones that supplied me the at-home blood pressure monitor and the cuff. Initially, when I got the machine, it was reading high, and I reached out to them and said, hey, my blood pressure is coming up pretty high, but I think it's because of the blood pressure cuff. I think it's too small. All of these readings were with the larger cuff that should have, accommodated my arm size. And, unfortunately, the blood pressure readings are still quite high. I did discuss this with my doctor at my appointment last week, and he's currently not too concerned. He wants to watch it and see if it continues as I'm, making better dietary changes and things like that. But when my blood pressure was read at the doctor's office, it was fine. It was in, the normal range. So he thinks that it might just be, the machine, or maybe I'm not, I don't have my feet planted on the floor, or, I've done too much activity before I'm taking the blood pressure reading. So I'm going to continue tracking this one, and then we're going to go over my results in the next month. Doing this is helping me to realize that I really do need to make this a priority so that I have consistent readings every single day. The next thing that I was tracking were packing my lunch, because I wanted to make sure that I was not spending money out if I could help it. The goal was to pack my breakfast and my lunch. I did put a couple of other goals in here because I have noticed over the past year tracking my blood sugar that between the hours of 4 to 6 p.m., my blood sugar starts tanking really quickly. And so I thought if I could try to encourage myself to have, you know, a snack in the late afternoon, then at least it should help me keep my blood sugar, you know, more stable so that I can get home safely, you know, driving in rush hour traffic without any incidents. As soon as I am able to have something to bring my blood sugar back up, you know, within like 30 minutes, I'm stable and the symptoms subside. So it doesn't feel good to go through that. And I also don't want to put obviously myself or the community at risk. So I feel like it's important to me to, you know, be able to keep my blood sugar level and, you know, making sure to eat a snack later in the afternoon it would be helpful to that end. Notice on the days when I did have that extra snack in the afternoon, that, you know, my blood sugar stayed level for the entire day. So I really should try to do that more often. I only achieved it a couple of times. So, you know, I'll continue working towards that. This particular week was a week full of student events that I was either in charge of or helping to coordinate. Just made sure that I had a late breakfast, and then immediately after, usually between 2 to 3 p.m., I would go out and grab something for my lunch. That usually tended to be like a salad with, you know, grilled chicken or something on it, or a sandwich at a sandwich shop. Next month, with, you know, some of the busier times that I have, to pack, you know, extra protein shakes, protein bars, that kind of thing to get me through. And perhaps maybe then I won't have to rely on eating out on certain days. But overall, I think I did pretty good. So this one is a little bit, I was a little bit of a struggle, I'm not gonna lie. So the next goal was to have a workday stretch break. I am being a little bit more conscious about, you know, getting up and walking around to encourage circulation and, you know, stretch my legs and my back and that kind of thing. But I wanted to have like a specifically dedicated, you know, 8 to 10 minute break so that I could do certain stretches for some problem areas, you know, that pop up when you're sitting at a desk for a long time. A lot of diabetics experience something called neuropathy, and that's where either your, you know, your feet or your hands, your extremities can go numb and stop feeling sensation. That can, you know, slowly turn into further complications, including infection, sepsis, and in many cases, even amputation. So learning about this disease has really opened my eyes to a lot of the things that I need to be doing now to take care of myself, but so that I don't have those kind of complications later on down the line. Now, taking it back to the stretch break, I did achieve some kind of stretching for the most part. There were a couple of days that I missed, but getting moving is the point. I did make a concerted effort to, you know, take a couple of minutes out of my day to walk outside. Sometimes when it was like super cold, I walked indoors, like in the buildings and stuff like that. But I did enjoy getting outside and seeing, you know, the nature that I don't normally see. We have, you know, a lot of trees and chipmunks and things like that on our campus, so that was fun to see. I have some stretching bands, like they're yoga straps, I think is what they're called. And I did this one at home because I was trying to see if it was something that I could do at work, like if I had enough room in my office to do that, and I definitely do not. So anytime that I'm doing, you know, floor work, stretching, you know, with the yoga straps and that kind of thing, I'm gonna have to do that at home on the weekends. But all in all, I feel like I did a good job just trying to keep active or stay active and giving my body a break by getting a good stretch in the day. My goal was to drink 100 ounces of water a day or more. I chose this bottle, so I hope you can see this, but this is a bottle that I picked up at, I'm pretty sure, one of the trips home that I made, essentially because this is 33.8 ounces, fluid ounces. If I drink, you know, 3 of these a day, I'll hit that 100 ounces or more. You can see here that unfortunately didn't happen a whole lot. There were quite a few times when I only drank 1 bottle of water a day. And that's, you know, of course, aside from any like coffee or, you know, Coke Zero or, protein shakes or any other liquids that I was drinking. But my express goal was to drink more water in an attempt to be better hydrated. It just helps a lot of the other processes that are happening in your body, to run smoother and more efficiently for your organs, to do their job. And so it's generally just a good idea for everybody to stay hydrated, but diabetics need to be more mindful of that. This is going to be one of my main priorities coming up in March. Really focusing on the hydration and making sure that I'm spacing out these bottles of water throughout the day. I have way more pink in here than I wanted to have. I am glad that I at least hit like 2 bottles of water for a lot of the time. But again, I didn't hit my goal as often as I wanted to, so this will be a bigger focus next month. Now, my next goal is walking 1 mile per day, and I mentioned that I had already worked up to like half a mile to 3/4 of a mile every day, so I really wanted to push myself to complete at least that mile every day. I will just be honest, in that first week, I was so tired. Just absolutely dog tired from adjusting my wake up and, bedtime schedules. So I was lucky to hit that, 3/4 of a mile several times that week. The next week, this is that same week I mentioned that I had several student events going on, and I was walking up and down stairs from this floor to that floor to this building to that building. And so I did get, a number of steps in on those days. So I know that I'm heading in the right direction, and I feel less tired, like less fatigued. At the end of the day, when I used to do a mile before, my feet would be sore, my feet would be swollen, and, I can tell that I'm getting better, at least in a number of different ways, but as I'm picking up, the distance, it's impacting my body less and less, so that's a good sign. All right, so the next goal was to eat dinner at home, and I'm happy to say that we did achieve that for the most part. So I did do quite a bit of, meal planning and prepping, freezing some meals and things for the future. So we had some things ready to go on the days or the evenings where we were both just absolutely tired. I had several, events with work that kept me really busy this month. And Michael also had several things with his, team. There were several times when it would have been easier just to call in a pizza or, go out to eat or something. We only did that towards the end of the month, and I really feel like that was because we had gotten out of our routine. We did make the decision once to go out to eat, and then we had, leftovers, and then we were out of town for several days, and when we came back, we didn't have a plan for when we returned. So we kind of struggled in the last week, but all in all, I'm happy with at least the progress that we made this month. We ate out far less than we normally do, and we were able to, work with each other to, help out where we needed to. So the days that I worked late, Michael picked up the slack, and the days where Michael worked late, I picked up the slack. So it was a good experience overall. All right, so that brings me to doing 1 chore a day. Usually what happens is that I will leave all my chores for Saturday and Sunday. It's a lot to squeeze into, the 2 days that I have off. I saw this concept to try and do like 1 extra chore a day beyond like what you normally would do. I did track what I was able to do. Most helpful, I think, was the laundry. By just tossing in like 1 load, per night if I could. Some days I was able to get in 2 loads, but on those days I just really felt like it eased the burden, for that chore on the weekends so much. So if we just do, Michael's laundry and my laundry, that's easily 4 loads of laundry, plus towels, sheets, and all that other kind of stuff. So, passing 6 to 7 loads of laundry on a Saturday or a Sunday is a lot to manage. So I felt like doing at least 1 of those during the week was really helpful on the weekend. So I was able to enjoy the time that I had off. The days that we were out of town, obviously nothing got done around the house, but I did feel like I had enough energy when we got back to immediately, you know, put our, you know, dirty clothes in the wash so that we didn't have to deal with, you know, suitcases in the, you know, in our bedroom or on the floor or whatever, and we could just go ahead and start the week with, you know, clean clothes. So that was a great experience. I think that's something that I will continue to do. That brings me to the night routine and my skincare. 20s, basically I would just wash my face and call it good. I have oily skin, and yet I still have dry, scaly skin at the same time, and those should not go together. I haven't worn makeup, like a full face of makeup, in easily like 15 plus years. At most, I do like my eyebrows, and, you know, I'll do mascara, maybe like a lip gloss or a colored tinted lip balm. So I've been trying to find a mascara that is waterproof, that won't slide off my face, but that is easier to remove, and also find a makeup remover that doesn't irritate my eyes. So on the days that I wore mascara, I wanted to make sure that I was removing it, and, you know, of course, washing my face. And then the goal was to make sure to moisturize, you know, in the morning or the evening. And then best case scenario would be that I apply serum. And I thought that I'd be able to do that at least once a week. Really only turned out to be once every other week. So that's something that I will definitely try to work towards in the future. But I did moisturize a lot more often than I thought I would. And the times that I wore mascara, you know, I was able to remove the mascara with the appropriate, you know, makeup remover. All right, now with regards to dental care, something that I'm learning is that, you know, there is some correlation between your dental health and your diabetes, the management of your diabetes. And so the last time that I visited with my dental hygienist, she recommended that I get a water pick. Now, Michael and I already use a Sonicare toothbrush, and I feel like that has really helped a lot with the, you know, overall, I think, cleanliness of my teeth, feeling of cleanliness, and my, you know, checkups and things like that are coming back better and better each time. But some nights I will, you know, only brush. Some nights I will brush and floss. And then on the best case scenario, my goal was to brush and use the water pick. So you'll see I was doing about every other day, up until the middle point of the month. And that's actually when my water pick died. So I do have to get another water pick. But at the very least, I'm still able to use my Sonicare toothbrush, and I just have to floss manually. So that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to floss at least once a day, so that, you know, the gums are stimulated, and all the gunk and debris and things like that are removed. And that has that plays a big part in whether your gums become inflamed due to, you know, bacteria or other things. But those things kind of go together with diabetes. So if you can keep your teeth as healthy as possible, it mitigates some of those effects of inflammation and infection, and is also kind of indicative of how your diabetes management is going. So I need to continue working towards that, and my goal next month is going to be to replace the water pick. All right, so now I'm going to talk about picking out my clothes. I guess I didn't realize that I kind of already do that, maybe in my head, if not, you know, physically taking out the clothes from my closet and putting them aside for the next day. But I have gotten into the habit of reviewing my schedule the night before, you know, for the next day. And there were several times here where I basically just wore a uniform that I made up, of a polo shirt for my college, and then like black pants and you know, shoes. If it's an active, like, student event kind of day, then I'm wearing my Chucks. And then if it's something a little bit more passive, then I can wear like a polo with slacks and dress shoes. But for the most part, I did, you know, pick my outfits for the next day. But I think that you know, as I went through the month, I think that's something that I would already do. So this one I may not keep up with in the month of March. All right, and that brings me to the bedtime by 10. Sometimes I was able to achieve that. Sometimes I was not. So my goal, like at the end of the month, really was to be able to see more green, blue, and gray on the page than I did see any other colors. And I think for the most part, that's true. The times that you see pink, you know, several of these were while we were out of town, and I was trying to see as many people as I could see over that time. Let's see, the yellows, those were times when I was up a lot later than I should have been. And I think these yellows, you know, were kind of as a result of getting off of my schedule. Like I said, I normally don't go to bed until like 2 or 3 in the morning. So moving my bedtime up so many hours, I didn't know how that was going to go. It turned out okay because like I said, I've been getting up earlier and earlier. And so I think by the end of the day, on several days, particularly that week where I had lots of student events, and I had a student event here. So after work, we headed out of town, but I remember that I was dog tired and went to bed on time that night. So this is something that I will be keeping up, and I feel like it is helping me to adjust better to an earlier call time. All right, now on to the weekly habits that I've been tracking. My goal was to meal plan and shop, and I'll kind of explain on here. This is a monthly setup. I completely forgot that, you know, there really should have only been, you know, 4 icons on here to signify the 4 weeks of the month. So somewhere on here, I got confused and started, you know, tracking whether I planned things or not. The point is kind of moot because I only, like I planned stuff on the weekends for the upcoming week. So I don't remember why I started planning it or tracking it this way, but I'm not sure that I'm going to do this one combined with this one. You can see here, I didn't actually track the meal prep because I did the meal prep every week. And it was 4 times. So I don't think like these two, I'm not sure. I might combine them and just make sure that it's only 1 icon per week instead of this is for an entire month. I wanted to try to get in the store and see if I could shop and find better deals or different things like that. And what I found was by not using the curbside service, I overspent consistently every week. So the goal of doing a lot of this stuff to impact my budget positively was, you know, kind of washed out by overspending every week by going into the store. So that is something that I did notice, that I will be going back to strictly the curbside shopping in March. So next is decluttering one space. And as you can see, I didn't make any progress on this. On a smaller scale, I would say little by little, I cleaned like a corner of our, you know, a counter space that had some papers or something, but I didn't document that. And so that would have been a decluttering a surface. And to be honest, I can't remember what day that was. And the area already has new papers piled onto it. So that's something that I'm going to be working on. Clutter is something that just piles up. And I don't know if that's the same for you, but, you know, for us, the junk mail is a big issue. And then determining what needs to happen with important documents. I think it's going to be easier rather than like picking something randomly and, you know, documenting it this way, following the plan that one of my favorite content creators has come up with. And her name is Sophie from The Sophisticated Organization. And she has a weekly, I want to say it's a 6-month plan, end up going through your entire house. So I think that's what I'm going to start in March now that I have a little bit more understanding about myself. If I just put it on a list like this, it's not going to happen. And I need to have a little bit more structure to that. But I'll share that with you as I get started on her plan. All right, so now I'm going to start on my monthly habit trackers. And these I was really going for personal betterment. So I mentioned before that I hadn't read for fun in quite a long time. And this month I wanted to read at least one book, and I did that and have started 2 others. So I'll go over those with you now. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Diabetes Question and Answer. It's not a narrative, and it's not like a story that builds on itself. These are literally like prescribed questions, and some of them are funny, but you know, if you have an issue, it's topical, so you can go to that topic in the index and read what, you know, this doctor recommends. I found that this was helpful for just developing like a base knowledge about diabetes. Some things I didn't know, some things that I knew, but, you know, could be tweaked or changed a little bit for a better response or result. And so this, I'm happy that I picked it up and that I have this as a reference moving forward. Now, the second book that I started, you can see I haven't gotten that far on it, but this one is called Winning Your Blood Sugar Battle. I have a sweet tooth, and whether you find things to satisfy that sweet tooth can greatly impact your blood sugar. So I'm trying to figure out like what other things lend themselves to like increasing those cravings. So I'm hoping that this book will give me a little bit more insight into that. The last book that I have literally just started this book. But this is, I borrowed my husband's Kindle for this one. And this book is called Change Your Diet, Change Your Mind. She gave a lot of insights about how diabetes can be connected to mental health illnesses, and how the treatment for both diabetes and mental health illnesses can come together under something called ketogenic nutrition therapy. And the whole premise of her, you know, book is that, you know, there's new research out there that essentially is saying that diabetes is a precursor to other illnesses like Alzheimer's and dementia. And so if you can control your blood sugar, you know, early and keep it under control, then you lessen the risk of eventually developing those very debilitating diseases. The keto diet can help manage other metabolic conditions like PCOS. So, you know, using that as part of your treatment for diabetes, you know, makes sense. At least it makes sense to me. And so as somebody who has struggled with mental health issues, you know, seeing all of these things kind of come together and a possible treatment of, you know, ketogenic nutritional therapy to treat all the things and help, you know, lessen the symptoms and improve the condition and management of these diseases is fascinating to me. So this is something that I'm interested to read and hopefully have made more progress at the end of the month towards reading this book. All right, so the next goal was to write to a loved one on the 22nd. Now, if you remember, we were out of town over the last weekend of February. That was my sister's birthday weekend, so we were out of town. I did bring this with me and write the card. I just didn't have a stamp, and there were so many obstacles to actually finding a stamp. I just wanted to let the person know that I did write you a card, and so you'll see this coming in the mail soon. But I was able to keep my goal to write to a loved one on the 22nd of this month. Now, the next one is making or saving $100 this month. Unfortunately, I didn't hit this one. To be honest, this was in the busyness of the month, this one, you know, kind of got shoved to the end of the priorities. And I do have a plan, though, to achieve this goal next month in 2024. Purchase some clothes to refresh my wardrobe a little bit. I did order, I would say, about 10 garments over the course of 3 months or so. And, well, I ordered more than that, but 10 of them didn't work right off the bat. And so I hope to list those next month on, you know, either eBay or Poshmark or Mercari or something like that, in hopes of at least making up $100. I didn't hit this one this month, but I have hopes for achieving that next month. All right, so the next monthly goals or monthly habits that I'm tracking, I did take my weight and measurements, and unfortunately I did gain weight this month. I know that, you know, this journey is not going to be linear. It's not always going to be, you know, in a deficit. Sometimes you may, you know, gain weight, and there's a lot of reasons for that to happen. In my case, I know that there was a change in my medication, and also my eating habits. Long story short, I did, you know, I was able to take my body measurements. It wasn't the best situation for me, but we are going to press on and continue into March. All right, so the next one was meeting with the dietitian, and I did do a consult with the dietitian, but unfortunately, it just was not a good fit. We both decided that what I was looking for and what they could provide were not, you know, didn't really mesh well. So I'm still looking for somebody that specializes in metabolic diseases, like diabetes, PCOS, and you know, I'll keep you posted. Now, the last thing I'm going to report on is our fun, frugal date. So I mentioned that Fancy Michael and I, you know, wanted to be a little bit more intentional about the time that we spend together. Many, many years ago, we decided that we didn't want to give in to that whole, you know, the commercial hype of that, celebration of love. So we decided to do something a little bit different on a drive, a nice long drive, over the lake, and you know, just seeing all the new construction houses, and you know, seeing the lights of the city. And it was just fun, just driving. It's something that we like to do, just kind of laughing and talking and dreaming about what we want to do with our lives as we grow older. We capped off the evening with Taco Bell. So I know that's not the most healthiest you know, meal out there, but I found if I'm gonna have fast food, Taco Bell, surprisingly, is one that doesn't spike my blood sugar, because I typically will have the 3 crunchy taco meal with a Pepsi Zero. And so I have little to no glucose response when I eat that. So Michael, you know, got what he got, and then I got the meal that I could eat there. And it was frugal, it was affordable, it was something we both enjoyed, and we had a good time. It was a nice cap to the end of our night. All right, so that's the end of my recap for my daily, weekly, and monthly goals for the month of February 2025. So some progress was made, and that's great. Little by little, I'll keep improving and moving towards a better, healthier version of me. My best friend Veronica always reminds me for progress, not perfection, and I really appreciate that encouragement. I'm the type of person that tends to focus on perfection as the objective in whatever I'm doing, and I always fall short because none of us are perfect. Working with a therapist in the past has helped me to identify the internal narrative that I tell myself, and I've recognized that I can be very negative in how I speak to myself sometimes. So if I can shift my perspective, say to myself, what a great month I had, I'm making progress, I'll have much better outcomes in changing my habits, and I'll be more likely to stick to this goal over the course of the year. In looking over my tracking sheets, I can see obvious areas where I need to adjust my goals and recommit to working on certain routines. But overall, I'm proud of myself for keeping up with the daily tracking, and I recognize that it helped me to be mindful of what I'm doing every day and how those small habits are impacting my health in the long run. Now, here comes the hard part. I have some not great news to share about how my weight has impacted my life in other areas, but in the interest of being completely transparent, I want to share the good news as well as the bad. Now, I just want to let you know in advance that I'm going to be talking about cancer and at least my experience with cancer in my family. And rest assured that I currently do not have anything to worry about, but I wanted to let you know that I'm going to be talking about this topic coming up. You may know that I have a family history of colon cancer. Both my maternal grandmother and my mother had colon cancer. And ultimately, the colon cancer is what took my mom's life way too soon at only 38 years of age. Now, my mom passed in 1987, and at that time, both the technology to detect colon cancer and the treatment for colon cancer was very limited. Now there are new medicines and protocols for colon cancer screening that are helping people to catch this type of cancer earlier, and treatment has made it so that they have much better outcomes. I want to share specifically with my family members, and really any of you out there who may have a parent or a family member with a history of colon cancer, that you should be getting screenings early and as often as your doctor recommends. In years past, colon cancer was seen as an old people's disease, and screenings weren't recommended until you were at least 50 years old. In my case, with 2 generations of family members having developed colon cancer, and one being my parent, the current medical advice is to get your first screening at 35 years old, and then every 5 years after that if there were no issues that resulted from that screening. If there are areas that need to be treated as a preventative measure, such as, the discovery of polyps in your colon that have to be removed, that can be done as an outpatient procedure, and then you will likely have a follow-up screening every 2 years after that. I didn't know this when I was in my mid-30s, and by the time I found a doctor that really gave a crap about me as a person in my late 30s, he realized that I was a high-risk patient and I needed to get screened ASAP. So I had my first colonoscopy screening at 39, and thankfully there were no concerning issues at that time. It's been 5 years and I'm due for another screening. Unfortunately, I went to my pre-procedure consultation and was told that my weight is an issue because it can cause complications with my breathing when I'm under anesthesia. So this simple outpatient procedure that I had before has become one that needs more monitoring and access to emergency doctors and equipment in a hospital in case something goes wrong. So I want to share with anyone out there watching this video that being overweight presents so many problems that you don't even think about, besides the everyday inconveniences that you may experience. Being overweight has the potential to make routine procedures complicated, and I never, ever thought of that. Since I was no longer eligible to have my procedure as an outpatient and needed to be scheduled for the hospital, my colonoscopy was rescheduled from February to March, which coincidentally is Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. So if I'm feeling brave enough, I might take you along with me through the prep for the procedure and even, after the procedure. At the very least, I can give you a recap of how everything went. And again, for all of my family members out there who may be watching this video, I'm talking to you, cousins. This is your sign to talk to your doctor about getting a colonoscopy screen. If you don't do it for you, then do it for your loved ones. The other not great thing that I have to share is that I've been off of my medication Mounjaro for the month of February. At the beginning of the month, I ran out of my prescription and I couldn't get a refill until after I got new blood work and did my 6-month checkup with my general practitioner. So at this point, at the end of February, first day of March, I've been off of Mounjaro for a full month at this point. My appointment with my GP happened a few days before my pre-procedure consultation for my colonoscopy, and at that appointment, I was advised not to take my Mounjaro for at least 10 days leading up to the colonoscopy. I can honestly say that over the past month, I've been noticeably hungrier, my sweet tooth cravings have returned, and I found myself snacking more often, usually late at night, but to be honest, I just felt hungry all the time. And I felt like I was constantly searching out the carbohydrates and sugar that I haven't really had a taste for in at least a year. I've been off of the Mounjaro, all of that has returned, and it really bit me in the ass during the month of February and recently when I did my monthly weigh-in. In February 2025, I gained back 4 pounds since my last weigh-in at the end of January, which is the opposite direction that I want my weight to be going, so that has been a huge bummer. Last week, my general practitioner and I discussed a weight loss goal to aim for. He recommended that my goal should be to lose 100 pounds. 100 pounds! So he said if I wanted to be really ambitious, I could make my goal 135 pounds. My timeline has never been to lose as much weight as fast as I can because I don't think that that's healthy to do to my body. It took me over a decade to gain this much weight, and I think that slow and steady is a better plan for me. But if I can lose another 35 pounds over the course of this year and continue losing next year, I could possibly achieve my weight loss goal by my 46th or 47th birthday, which is wild. I think I'm just more mindful as I continue to age that, all the regular, I think like aches and pains that people would normally experience are amplified because of the weight that I'm carrying. And, obviously there's a correlation to how that impacts diabetes and insulin, production and things like that. So I I really just want to make sure that as I, go into the second half of my life, that I'm as healthy as I possibly can be. So there's definitely a sense of urgency for me. So this coming week, I'm going to prioritize really finding a dietitian that I click with so that I can revamp my food intake and, restart my weight loss. Since my colonoscopy procedure got pushed back to the end of March, I have restarted the Mounjaro shot, but I'll make sure to stop taking it 10 days before my procedure as the doctor advised. Then after my colonoscopy procedure, I'll be able to restart taking it weekly. And I don't know how much of my journey would be interesting or helpful to people to see. I really just want to share what I'm doing to get my health in order. And for me, Mounjaro is part of that, the puzzle pieces that are coming together. So would learning about Mounjaro be something that you'd be interested? If so, let me know in the comments. All right, so that's everything, the good and the bad. I appreciate you listening and checking in on me. It means the world to me that you're here. And with that, I'll just say, this is Crystal with Every Tiny Victory. I love you very much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.